to Swing State Update. My name is Tyler Boyer. We are live for all of you listeners that are out there. We're excited to be joined today by State Representative Austin Smith, who's also our new enterprise director, senior enterprise director for our Chase the Vote operation. And to my immediate left is Brett Galashevsky. Did I say your name right?
You did.
Which I didn't do the first time I introduced Brett at a public event. And
my mom still brings it up.
But hopefully your mom's watching this podcast or listening, and she's very proud because the Galashevsky family is honored by Brett, who just recently got promoted into Austin's role at Turning Point Action.
Yes, he did.
Who is now the enterprise director over our Legacy Field operation. And those of you that know Brett G, I think actually on Twitter it says Brett Gals.
B Gals.
It's B Gals Wisconsin WI. Yep. So if you look up his Twitter handle is at B Gals WI for Wisconsin. He is the first vice chair of the Milwaukee Republican Party, one of the youngest leaders that we have in the state, who's flanked by the youngest county chair in the state and I think in the country for most of our large counties there. And we love our good county chairman in Milwaukee. And then obviously Brandon, who works for us, who's the county chair, one of the youngest county chairs in the country for Dane County as well. So I think we know our stuff about Wisconsin here, right?
Yeah. And we know the path to victory. We're really excited.
So Austin had a really big day. Today was the first day of legislative session in Arizona, and which is an awful day because that's the beginning of a bunch of
me having to kill a bunch of people's bills.
Bunch of 20-something thousand a year, legislators down there. Obviously that's not Austin, but Austin is holding the line with the Freedom Caucus. And great looking suit, Austin.
Thank you. Amy picked it out. She said it would look really good. So I have no taste, so she picked it out, and so I wore it for opening day.
Amy has great taste.
She does have great taste. So opening day. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I think I sent the screenshot over to Sadie, but obviously people are just writing bills right now going into session, and I had some crazy Democrat send it to all of us on our legislative email and was saying that she has a couple bills. Oh, they got it pulled up there. Well, anyway, these Democrats were trying to bring some bills in, like change your gender on your birth certificate and ban police cars. And she was very upset that I posted it on X, and she called me a trash-ass legislator. And so I saw her today, and if looks could eat, she would have eat me. So just saying that.
I mean, you did look very nice in that suit, but it wasn't the normal pink frosting and sprinkles that she was used to. So
no.
I'm gonna say this. This is so funny. So that tweet, if you're listening at home and you're on podcast, the tweet that got brought up. Austin tweeted out this radical leftist that is in the state legislature. Her name is Ana Hernandez. She looks not great. Her legislation though that she's producing is much worse. Can we agree with that?
A very unserious piece of legislation, but she's totally serious about it.
She's very serious about it, and she's trying to ban police cars.
Unmarked police cars
and trans your kids. She's one of these radical leftists. So.
Repeal stand your ground laws, and was very upset that I posted it on X. I got a pretty good following on X, and she was very upset. Yeah, she was very mad that I posted that. So I don't care. Like if you're gonna just write trash legislation, at least stand by. And she got very mad.
No, she was like, she called you a trash ass legislator.
But if you're gonna,
why did she call you that?
Because her stuff is trash, and I let everybody know about it.
Because tweeted about her legislation?
She was like, it was very bad form for you to post it until I filed. I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care. Post mine. I'm like, I'll stand by mine. But she was like, you should probably just tag me next time. And I was like, well, I thought I was doing you a favor not putting your name on it, but everybody else can see how freaking crazy you guys are now. So here you go, everybody. So that's what we're dealing with in Arizona.
Invite. By the way, open invite for Representative Hernandez if she ever wants to come on.
She wants to come on. That's fine. We can talk about her crazy policy ideas.
We will have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, come on.
We'll put her right here.
We're down.
Seat. So, okay. So today we have a wonderful, few minutes together where we're going to run through a lot happening. There's a lot happening in the country, Austin, Brett. Brett has been the longtime manager overseeing Iowa. We'll actually give Brett the opportunity to introduce Gloria here in just a second. So we'll get to that in just a second. So we'll talk about what's happening at the Iowa caucuses, what's to come in Iowa, hear from our pro on the ground, Gloria, who's one of our best that we have in the entire country, is in Iowa. We'll talk about that. We're going to jump right into the Nikki Haley craziness, what's going on with that. We'll remind everybody a little bit about Nevada, head back to Nevada and listen to the last week's episode that we had with Senecal Chata when we talked about that. And then we are going to jump into talking about today. Remind me, Austin.
RFK.
And the Charlie interview.
Yes. Because
this is really important stuff that we need to focus on. We need to chat about a little bit, have a little bit elongated conversation, and then we'll wrap up with Wisconsin. So with that, Austin, go ahead and introduce Gloria.
Yes, Gloria Senecal, one of our best field reps in the state of Iowa, and obviously first in the nation. She's been a stellar grassroots activist, came on with our staff earlier last year. Gloria, welcome to Swing State Update.
Excited to have you.
Oh, we think you're muted.
I'm not. I think it's on your end.
We got you. Yeah, there you are.
There we go.
Welcome.
But I'm happy, guys. Thanks for having me.
How are things shaping up in Iowa for the caucus?
Busy, very busy. So I've spent most of my day today going through our grassroots list and calling through that to make sure people know how to become a Central Committee member. So as in Iowa, we call it Central Committee members. I know in other places, precinct committeemen, and also working in delegates to go to the county conventions and state conventions, all that fun stuff. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens because currently we have a bunch of snow happening outside, and it's going to be super, super cold on caucus day. So it'll be interesting to see how much turnout comes based off the weather, but also to see how motivated people are to represent their candidates that night.
So do you think because if there's crazy weather and there's a bunch of snow, a lot of people are still going to turn out for Trump or DeSantis or Haley?
So based off the lines I've seen for President Trump, it's been freezing the past several events that he's had. And as far as I know, he's one of the very, if not the only candidate that has the lines to be so long outside of his events. And these people wait for hours and hours and hours outside, just hoping to at least get the back seat in order to see President Trump. So if that doesn't speak volumes for them actually coming out on caucus night to caucus for President Trump, I don't know what else does.
Yeah.
Gloria, tell me a little bit about, Brett spent a lot of time. Brett and Austin actually were just in Iowa with you.
We just saw President Trump in Iowa.
So you guys were just with President Trump at the Run Gen Z conference. So shout out to our good friends at Run Gen Z. Joe, who's a former state representative, runs that, does a really tremendous job. Mason from Texas, who's been instrumental in helping them. You guys had 100+ candidates from all over the country that were there. What an incredible event. But let's talk a little bit about how's Iowa shaping up. So I think there's a lot of people who are really looking at Iowa, and I want to get Gloria's take on this first, and then we can chime in here, boys. But, a lot of people have been looking at Iowa saying, are the polls real, right? So Trump is leading polls across the country by like 50 points. In Iowa, I think the most recent one I saw was about 20-something points. I think it was 22 points was the most recent poll I saw.
Yeah.
What is your feeling on the ground of how this election is going to turn out, and this caucus election, this caucus vote? And do you think that Trump is going to exceed, or it's going to be less than what the polls are showing in Iowa?
Ooh,
and why?
Question. So based off of a lot of the different conversations I've had with not only just people I've talked to on the ground, but also just watching how different operations are done, I do think that President Trump has the best ground operation here in Iowa. So I think that will really affect turnout in a positive sense. For example, like I've gotten mailers from all the different candidates because I live here in Iowa, obviously. So President Trump's team is the only team that actually put the precinct that I'm supposed to go caucus in on that mailer. And I've heard different conversations from other campaigns, and they don't even have that much ground operation going. I know that some of the other campaigns do, but I haven't gotten a mailer with that information on it. But who knows why. I think that he's going to do well on caucus night. Whether it's going to be exactly what the polls are or not, I'm not sure. As we know, sometimes polls can be inaccurate. I do know that the largest victory in Iowa history was 12 points, and I do think that he will exceed that. By how much,
Wow.
I'm not sure. But that was done by Bob Dole. I think it was 1988 is when that was. Don't quote me exactly on that one. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens that night and what happens from there.
But tell me why. I mean, Gloria, give me something that's on the ground right now of what is reinforcing your feeling. And again, this is just totally your approach from Iowa. So none of us are there. You know, honestly, I feel like a fish out of water when I'm in Iowa. I don't know why. I'm like the opposite of like the closest to farm boy I am is like, you know, now 2 generations out from being like a cowboy farmer rancher.
But you grew up around the farm fields in Gilbert, the alfalfa and the dairy farms.
I definitely sneezed a lot. A lot of.
You grew up in rural
alfalfa.
Gilbert, so
I grew up there. But you know, you have a better like indication of what's going on. Give me like some kind of story that's going on right now where you're going, oh my gosh, yeah, this is how I know for a fact. And then give us one thing that you think is going to happen that nobody's expecting.
Oh, goodness. Was not prepared for these questions, but let's see what I got.
This is why you're here.
Oh.
Rapid fire. Yeah, this is Swing State Update. Everybody at home that's like in the middle of nowhere, you know, Oregon right now is listening to this and they want to know. So,
yeah. So a lot of just different conversations with people when I go out and about, you know, at different events and stuff like that. Obviously, we haven't endorsed any candidates, but you know, you have a lot of different conversations. You have tables next to different campaigns when you're at different county party events. And you get to see a feel of how excited people are to go up to the other candidates' tables and just to see how much they get engaged and involved with that. And a lot of the times what I've heard in a lot of conversations with people is that comes down to loyalty. As Trump fought a lot for the farmers and a lot of the Iowans back when he was our president. And a lot of that people still hold true to this day. I mean, countless people that I've said that in different ways in their own stories with that. Something unexpected that I think will happen is I think Haley will probably place second instead of what people think as third. And she's going to definitely surge more so than DeSantis because the operation, to nobody's surprise with all the different articles that have come out about the PAC, has not been that great. And there's a lot of animosity that with people I've talked to towards the DeSantis PAC. And the DeSantis campaign came in too little too late to actually build up a ground operation. I know they moved half their staff from Florida here, but it was not in the right time because they should have done it earlier on. And they lost a great opportunity not doing that.
Yeah, Gloria, could you talk a little bit more about just what kind of effect that has in Iowa? I know that, you know, tribalism in Iowa is something that, you know, we as Midwesterners really embrace. So just from a genuinity aspect, does that go a long way? How you would describe DeSantis, you know, bringing up staff from Florida. Do people generally see right through that?
So a lot of it comes down to actually appreciating the people that you want to have vote for you. And a lot of the conversations that I've heard, the people that talk to the DeSantis staff and stuff have not actually felt fully appreciated. So I've heard a lot of different interesting conversations that have happened from that. And at the end of the day, Iowans want to know that they're appreciated, that their vote really does matter to you, that if they went and supported a different candidate, it would crush you, as not because it would necessarily make it so you wouldn't win, but because you genuinely want their vote. And when you can, I mean, one of our big things is grassroots humility. And that's the fundamental element of winning Iowa, is that if you actually appreciate every single voter, every single vote at that level, it's important to have staff that actually does that. Because it's one thing to have the candidate come in and do that. And I know that different candidates have spent different amount of time here in Iowa, but their staff is the representation that deals day in, day out with the voters here in Iowa. So if you call somebody up or knock on their door and you don't believe in your candidate, or you don't really care about the person knocking on the door, you're just ready to, you know, go to the bar, get a drink, or go home, go to sleep, or just hit the metrics, people can tell.
Well, and I'm curious, what kind of effect, and you brought up Nikki Haley earlier, and I'm paraphrasing when I say this, but Nikki Haley spoke at an event recently in New Hampshire where she said, Iowa Caucus, Iowa voters go first, and New Hampshire corrects it, or something to that effect. And I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw that. Is something like that, is that going to rub Iowa voters the wrong way next week?
I think for this week, for the people that are still undecided, it will. Because there's nothing more serious that Iowans take than their presidential pick. I mean, I've made my plenty of calls through, like I was mentioning, that's getting stuff committee members and delegates, and I'm always curious to see who they're going to support. And some of the ones that are undecided, they're like, I still want to hear more from the candidates when they're here this week. So I think it will impact some of the numbers, but I don't think it's going to impact it enough to make her not be second. But then again, that's my opinion, as that she'll be second, but we'll see what happens on Monday.
So, this is so funny. Laura Loomer tweeted out, and I had to like it just to annoy the DeSantis people, but I'm wearing my Trump hat, because I'm in full support of President Trump. We came into this thing about a year ago really optimistic for Governor DeSantis. And I'm going to tell you this and again, love Iowa. Iowa doesn't pick a lot of presidents, presidential, nominees. That's been the recent history of the Republican Party is that guys who end up losing. And part of the reason why I think this is because what ends up happening is like the semi early front runners that spend a lot of money
in Iowa. Yeah.
They spend a lot of money in Iowa, and then they go all in on Iowa because they have to, because they've been telling their donors they're going in on all in on Iowa, and they have to win Iowa or try their best. And so they end up dumping an inordinate amount of resources into Iowa, and that's why Ted Cruz won. That's why you saw in previous years, I think Mike Huckabee won.
Santorum,
and other, because there's those, I can't remember. It was Cruz. Gloria probably knows. So it's Cruz won last in 2016, and then 2012 it was
Mike Huckabee.
Was it Huckabee?
Yep.
Was Huckabee 2008? I seem to remember.
Huckabee, right? No. Rick Santorum won it too.
That might have been 2012.
I wasn't old enough to be paying attention.
Well, to pull up. Can you pull it up real quick?
Yeah.
So, but the point is like, I think the last three times the winner hasn't won. Now, this will be the first time, I think, if Trump wins, he's going to probably cruise to the nomination, and this will be the first time in a while. But the point is...
Mike Huckabee won it in 2008, and then in 2012, Rick Santorum.
Santorum beat Romney, right?
Yeah.
So and again, Iowa has always leaned in a little bit more evangelical, and so that usually happens. But this will be the first time in a while that the person who's probably likely going to get the nomination won Iowa. That's not the reason why I bring this up, because I want to focus back in on DeSantis. This is really interesting for people listening. DeSantis started this ball game, and I'm going to keep it really simple and just say $100 million. He's spent the lion's share of his money now to win Iowa. If he doesn't come in second place, like Gloria is saying, if Nikki comes in second place, this is a devastating blow to
Always Back Down and the DeSantis campaign.
To the DeSantis campaign.
Yeah.
And when I say campaign, I mean like the future of Ron DeSantis, because I think people looked at Ron and they said he could win Iowa. Like he really is like, I can see him not winning the nomination, like in years past, but I can see him maybe pulling out Iowa. And Trump is just that strong, and Nikki's surging that much. That's a crazy thing. So
a lot of the donors have.
Sorry, go ahead, Gloria.
Gloria, go ahead.
I was going to say, when right before DeSantis actually officially got in, he was polling right up equal to Trump, which set that expectation
totally
from donors for him to actually be able to beat Trump. And that's why people have looked at him, is that they look at him as a Trump alternative that still has similar values. But as we've seen over the past couple of months, it's very clear that he's not a Trump alternative. And he has his own way of doing things, and that he's been focusing on making a difference between him and Trump over the past couple of months here in Iowa. And like I was mentioning earlier, people like loyalty, and people go to these events because they want to see the candidates, because it's an amazing thing about Iowa is you get to see all the different presidential candidates. But they go out of more curiosity than they're actually going to go vote for the candidate.
And that's the thing is that now all of the establishment donors have coalesced behind Nikki Haley. They know Ron DeSantis is bleeding. They've had a change in their pack. He's really just not pulling the votes that he's supposed to from Trump voters. And that Tyler mentioned this before, is that DeSantis didn't run a campaign that he should have, like Vivek is actually doing. And he doesn't cater to Trump voters anymore. It's actually just become anti-Trump talk. That's just not going to work. There's a lot of Trump voters in Iowa, and there's quite a bit. There's going to be a bit in New Hampshire, and there's going to be a bit in South Carolina. And so I bet you by New Hampshire, he's out.
So
DeSantis
you talked about
out.
Vivek. So I think the storyline that's going to come out of this is they're going to just like kind of poo-poo like Trump winning. So I think either what's going to happen is one of these two things, and tell me if you agree with me, Gloria. You're allowed to disagree here, so please do not just agree with me if you disagree. Yeah, we're going to put your face up so I can see your reaction when I say this. Okay, so number one is either Trump is going to lose. He's only going to win by, like 10% or something, and so they're going to try to come out with a story that like Trump
didn't perform that well,
significantly underperformed expectations, right? Like, so that's going to be one, or two, which I think is more likely. I think Trump's probably going to like hit or exceed expectations, but two, they're gonna focus in on Vivek, and they're gonna say Vivek is a total loser. He only got 3% or 4% or whatever. He's going to end up 5%, 6%, whatever he's going to get. And they're just going to like use this to just like trash Vivek. What are your thoughts? I mean, how do you think Laura Loomer thinks that Vivek's coming in second place? So, not to say that Laura is wrong. I wouldn't do that on Twitter. But I don't know if Vivek's going to come in second.
Yeah, I definitely have thoughts about that, but you definitely were right about Trump. They're going to find every single way to discredit him, because I mean that's what they've done this whole entire time.
Right.
If he ends up winning by 30 points, they're going to be, well, it wasn't the whatever this poll was comparatively that he should have won by 40 points, or they're going to they're going to do every single thing that they can to discredit him, or if like you said, if it's not enough, then he's technically lost Iowa is what they're going to say, which obviously is not true. A win is important regardless of whatever the points are. But I don't think Vivek is going to come in second. That's obviously my personal opinion, just based off what I've seen. Yeah. And one of the reasons I say that is there's a lot of people that are very curious about him. Every single time I talk to people,
he polls really high for second vote. So he always polls really, really high for like second choice.
Yeah, well, people are curious about him, but the thing is that usually the people that choose him second are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was talking to people while we were at the conference this weekend, and she was just like, oh, yeah, like I'm, supporting Donald Trump, but I'm curious about Vivek. I'm going to see if he has any events around, so I can just go see him. And he's just like, he's a show to go see. And the way of like, I mean, he's a very nice guy, met him, nothing bad to say about him. But the thing is that when I've talked to different people that are going to support him, not everyone knows where they're supposed to go and be on caucus night. And it's just like some of the different there's just gaps in the holes that happen. Because one of the interesting things about Iowa, and I mean, it's with a lot of caucuses, is that the place that you go caucus is not the place that you go and vote on, let's say, primary general election. Yep. So a lot of what these campaigns are battling is making sure that their voters actually go to the right spot. I mean, Brett's seen this when he's come out to Iowa, and we've done some events together, is that you talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly where I'm supposed to caucus. And I'm like, oh, do you know that it's a different place than where you normally go vote? They're like, I didn't know that. And so you have to go through this whole education process that happens. And when you're looking at a campaign, that's thousands of people that you need to make sure know that it's a different location. That's why I was saying at the beginning, if the Trump flyer that has the exact precinct location as where you're supposed to go caucus is so powerful.
Yeah, and I think if this election came down to under 40-year-olds, Vivek still might lose, because a lot of under 40-year-olds just have no idea what they're doing when like they're coming to voting. So we could say that as under 40-year-olds, but like I mean, look. This is why I retweeted Laura. I think I retweeted Laura's like Vivek's coming in second place, because I just wanted to get under the skin of the DeSantis people a little bit, and not because Vivek deserves it, in my opinion, because he's worked really hard. He's traveled the state more than I think any other candidate. I think he hit all 99 counties twice.
Yep.
So
working on that.
So I think he deserves, but I think Laura has an affinity for Vivek too. But guys, no one, I love Vivek. He spoke at our conference just recently. He spoke on at America Fest on the Turning Point Action Day
And AtCon. He came to AtCon.
and at AtCon. He's awesome. I'm telling you right now, I've been more and more impressed with Vivek than any other candidate. He is so deserving of coming in second place in Iowa. Not going to happen. Why? Why is it not going to happen? Because Iowa's not electing a vegan.
No.
Are you kidding me? Like literally,
That's the biggest thing that at these events people are like, well, he's not a Christian. Like, what is it? One God or is it all gods? Like, what does he actually believe? And he did a good job trying to message that, but still, that was still like even after he's been going
I don't
around
even care about the faith thing. I think people can even get over the faith thing, and I've seen people get over the faith thing. And like again, we talk about like Scott Presser kills it with people because they look at Scott. I think there's power in being young. Because I think older people, they go, oh my gosh, I would love to have a kid or a grandkid like you.
I wish my son was like you.
I wish my son was like Scott Presser. I wish my son was like Charlie Kirk. I wish my son was like Vivek, right? And they get over it like you guys, right? Like I wish my son was like Brett. I wish my son was like Austin. Like this happens all the time. Gloria, same thing. I wish my granddaughter was like Gloria. But I think the really interesting thing here is that like people can't get over the fact once they actually get into the weeds of it, they're like, wait, I just went to Joni Ernst's like roast and ride. Like this is like her biggest like thing is like, pig butts, right? And like, barbecue.
Yep. The Squeal Squad.
The Squeal Squad. Like
Squeal Squad.
She like rides in on a Harley and like Vivek is, because of his beliefs, he's vegan. That's just not gonna like make it that far in connecting in Iowa. Now that's gonna do really well. Maybe in California.
Yeah.
He's going to do better in Arizona, Nevada, and places that don't care about that. But like Iowa,
that's sacrilegious. These are just Midwestern things.
Yeah, like that's.
If you didn't have
you can't eat zombie burger.
If you didn't have fried butter at the Iowa State Fair, I'm not voting for you. Probably like
you
that.
can't eat zombie burger. You know what I eat at the Iowa State Fair every time? I get the chicken sticks. It's the chicken
delicious.
with the waffle wrapped around it.
Delicious.
And you at the my mouth's watering now.
Rattlesnake nachos.
When we were just in Iowa, I was like, if I don't get a fried piece of butter here, I'm never coming back. But I can't because the fair's not going on, so there's no fried butter for sale. But it was awesome.
These are just Midwesterner things, guys. The amount of people that turned on Aaron Rodgers in Wisconsin when he came out and said that he no longer eats dairy, he no longer eats cheese, astonishing. So right along those same lines. Gloria, I can't reiterate this enough. There are very few people in the conservative movement that have embraced the grassroots grind with a smile on your face in the way that you have. I always tell people I wish there were a million Glorias in the conservative movement with such an infectious attitude that makes those around you better. You have a unique role on Monday in the Iowa caucuses. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you're specifically going to be doing?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm super excited because this will be my first caucus I get to participate in. And as we encourage at Turning Point, getting engaged at the grassroots level, I get to actually lead my caucus. So I've gone to a caucus by RPI. And actually, I have another training here after this that I'm helping out with. But I will be running my caucus that night. So that basically what that entails is checking people in, making sure that they're registered voters in Iowa. And you can do same-day voter registration in Iowa, so helping along with that process, and then running the meeting. So what that's going to entail is two different things. One is the presidential preference poll, which we've been talking about for the last little bit. But something else that happens that not a lot of people know about is the party business that happens on caucus night. So caucus actually happens every 2 years, but the presidential part only happens every 4 years. So what's also going to happen is the election of central committee members, which is what I referenced at the beginning. So the people that are actually going to be running the party in their local counties throughout the rest of the 2 years. So they're a 2-year elected position. And then also delegates. So the delegates that are elected on caucus night, and I plan on being one of them, are going to go on to the county convention, and then from the county convention to the district convention, from the district convention to the state convention. Which is actually one of the reasons why I was first in the nation, because it takes so long to go through the process to pick the delegates for the presidential nomination that they put us first because we have all those different conventions to go through before the official delegation is sent to the RNC.
Well, and what a lot of people don't know is that Iowa was really close to losing their first in the nation status this time around. And this is something that Iowans have embraced, over the last couple decades, being first in the nation. It's more than just a concept, it's a lifestyle. How important is it that Iowa was able to preserve their first in the nation status?
I mean, I think it's definitely a point of pride, because being first in the nation not only gives you the ability to tell the rest of the nation what you think about all the candidates, but you also get the opportunity to meet all the different candidates. I mean, I've had the different people from Wisconsin and from Arizona and all these other people when we've had events here in Iowa. They come in and you get to meet all the different presidential candidates. And there's only 4 early states that you really get to have such a low level, I guess not, that's not the word, but to use for it. But you actually get to go meet all the candidates and not large venues. And you actually get to meet them, interact with them. And being first in the nation, as I've talked to the different grassroots activists and even just people that don't really know what's going on, it draws you in and brings different voters in that wouldn't necessarily vote otherwise from the different conversations that I've had.
Well, and Gloria and our other outstanding Iowa field representative, John Trotta, have been making calls for weeks now. All of our recruits that we've gotten via Iowa State Fair, via all of the events that you guys go to, tabling outside of Trump events, tabling outside of really any big event where large conservatives or a large amount of conservatives are going to be. You've been having these phone calls now for a couple weeks. What have those calls been like? What's the attitude of the everyday Iowan? How do you feel about turnout? Give us a little bit of an insight what we can expect on Monday night.
So it's going to be fun. I think turnout is going to be like other primaries where there's some people that will be out of town and are not coming, but they wish that they could come. But they already have events or vacations scheduled. And I've tried to convince them otherwise, but they still decided to go on their vacation, which is understandable. Not really, but whatever. But caucus is unique because you have to vote the night of. You can't do a mail-in ballot. So everyone that does not show up that night doesn't get to vote. I think turnout is going to be larger, just as large as it was in 2016, if not larger. At least that's what we're preparing for. People are really excited about this, but also at the same time, they take this very seriously this time around, especially because whoever they vote for is going to help protect our nation, because they really see it as either we win this year or we don't have a nation.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that when I talk to them, they have a very solemn attitude about it. Because obviously we're excited to have our candidate win, whoever that is. But at the end of the day, we want America to win. And that's a lot of what Iowans are taking this duty on Monday, to not only preserve Iowa's first in the nation by running an effective caucus, but also to preserve our country by electing a solid Republican to be our nominee.
And Gloria, before we let you go here, again, just want to reiterate how grateful we are for you that you're on the ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're so excited for, I think the outcome is going to be, like you said, a strong Donald Trump win. I think this is probably going to usher in, hopefully, a swift but exacting Donald Trump domination through the next, following primaries here and caucuses that we have. We have the Nevada caucus. Again, I encourage everyone, you're going to become more familiar with caucuses probably because, unfortunately, the Democrats are trying to take people off ballots. And so there's a good workaround for that. We talk about that a lot. And I think it was last week's episode with Senecal. Mm-hmm. So if you go on and listen to that about the Nevada caucus, get the download with that. But again, thank you so much for all that you're doing out there. We appreciate you so much. God bless you.
Thanks for having me. And for any Iowans that are listening that doesn't know where their caucus location is, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you find it.
You can find Gloria just on right on Twitter. Why don't you give everyone the Twitter handle? And is there a good Prime link that people can go to find their caucus location as well?
They can, as long as you know your precinct, the Iowa GOP has a link on their website that you can go to. And if you have any problems with that, my Twitter handle is, it's right up there on the screen, at Senecal Gloria. And feel free to message me. Good work. We appreciate you. Let's go right to the Nikki Haley clip, and we'll talk about how Nikki Haley's probably not going to win Iowa because of things like this. Let's roll the Nikki Haley Ukraine clip, please.
You should know at the United Nations, Ukraine was a great friend to us. They voted with us on almost everything. They supported our initiatives without me even asking. Here you have this pro-American, freedom-loving country that was invaded by a thug. 500,000 people have died and been wounded because of Putin. Now, I will be the first one to tell you, I don't think we should ever send cash to any country, friend or foe, because you can't follow it. You don't know how they spend it.
Yes.
I don't think we need to put troops on the ground, and the Ukrainians don't want them. They want to win this on their own. But I think we need to give them the equipment and the ammunition to win.
Wow. So here we go. I mean, this is pretty much the dividing line between Trump versus Nikki at this point. You know, and everybody else is just kind of falling by the wayside in Iowa. Is Nikki Haley is just neocon Nikki, and you got, you know,
That's what happens when AFP comes out and endorses you right away. You got to go full neocon and never go full neocon.
So here, but let's make this let's make this very clear. Americans for Prosperity sold themselves for decades as libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me one libertarian thing that woman just said?
Not one.
She's like, I really want to go to war, but they don't want us. Wait. So the Ukrainians
And the libertarian position has always been, don't just send blank checks to foreign countries, ending foreign aid. And she wants to send unlimited amounts of cash constantly to these conflicts.
And look, here, you know, I love the whole, you know, asking Nikki, like, name one province in Russia, name one province in Ukraine. Do you know anything, right? Like, none of these people. And for full clarity, I lived in Russia. I served a mission in Russia. I speak fluent Russian. I spent some time in Donetsk. I spent some time in Armenia. I spent some time in the pre-Baltics. I speak fluent Russian, like half the country of Ukraine. I hate Russia. I hate Russian, what they've done to their people, right? I dislike Russia. I think Putin is, you know, is not to the level of Stalin, but he's a Stalinistic oligarch, you know, loving, you know, guy. And
He's Soviet Union alumni.
But Ukraine is just as corrupt and just as bad, and we're not going to get into all that. But here's AFP. AFP for years sold itself as this libertarian think tank, driving force. We're going to build a grassroots army, but we're going to be super like anti-war and super pro-weed and super, you know, pro-abortion. Honestly, like allowing that in and just talking about it, and like it's like all the antithesis of everything that the conservative movement is today.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that's they said they were all, you know, they are now supporting the pro-war person, right, with all these other baggage elements here, and they're antithetical to anything that they ever stood for at any point.
That the quote from that article: a third of voters in 6 swing states said they thought America had spent too much on supporting Ukraine, while a large minority in 5 of the 6 said aid should now be cut. It's a mainstream position to not be so pro-war, so pro just sending a blank check to Ukraine that's trying to fight a losing war. And Iowa voters are probably going to be very clear about that, and New Hampshire voters in the coming weeks. I think this will be this. I mean, this is going to be a general election issue, but I think it also impacts the primary. That's why Trump's winning by so much.
Well, and here's, you know, this is like, this kind of rolls right into like the bigger picture here. I think this is going to set the stage for, you know, the remaining. It's going to be interesting to see who drops out after this race. I think there's too much investment for Nikki, even if she has an embarrassing turnout. I don't think she's going to be out of this. She's not going to get out until after South Carolina.
Sununu's been going around campaigning with Haley. They're all banking on New Hampshire.
Well, I mean, they think they can stack this thing where they can like pull out a better than. This is what's probably going to happen. They're going to try to get Nikki better than what's expected in Iowa. So then that sets her up for a overly good showing for New Hampshire, because New Hampshire isn't real, you know, and you know, no offense to all our New Hampshireites, but like it's just, it's so detached from the rest of the Republican Party up there. They're great, but it's such an easy state to dominate. That's why campaigns love it, because there's so few people that turn out. It's only a fraction of like some of these other big states on Super Tuesday, right? So, and then in her home state of South Carolina, she's obviously gonna have a bigger showing that's better than normal. and she's got a real problem with the Nevada caucus because she's not in it, right? So she's going to get embarrassed there.
Not the party caucus, no sir.
So so you've got this whole setup that's coming, and Trump should be clearly ahead, and this is all going to be dependent on these guys who get out of the race. Specifically, at what point does Vivek get out? At what point does DeSantis get out? And do they both do the right thing and immediately endorse Trump? I hope so. I think Vivek will.
I think so too. I mean, think about how dangerous he can be going to Wisconsin as a surrogate speaker for Trump. Vivek hasn't made very many appearances up in Wisconsin. He's going to draw massive crowds, and that's all going to be in support of Trump if it gets to that point. I just think in a state like Wisconsin that really embraces authenticity and sees the real deal in Vivek, I mean, this is what could separate him from the rest of the pack.
Well, let's dive right into. Let's kind of move on to this RFK clip. Should we roll this RFK clip from Charlie's show? Because let's talk about the RFK Kyrsten Sinema marriage here in Arizona.
What I agreed with, the thing that made me a Democrat, Charlie, is the traditional Democratic platform, which I would sort of check all the boxes. The Democrats were traditionally anti-war. They were skeptical of the military-industrial complex, of the corporate control of our democracy. They were pro-environment. They were pro-women's rights. And bodily autonomy. They were skeptical of the pharmaceutical industry and the other big corporations. So that's those are the boxes that I would check. And I don't know how much of that. I don't even know what President Biden believes in on those issues.
So if you didn't catch this, we're gonna tweet out. I'll have the Turning Point Action account tweet out after we get off the live stream here. The clip, the interview. Can we do that, Sadie, producer Sadie? Let's tweet it out ASAP. So let's just have the team tweet it out. But let's tweet out the interview between Charlie and RFK. So RFK is running as an independent. And there's this huge debate that's happening, and everybody doesn't know. Nobody knows what's going on here. The Democrats are fearful that he's pulling more Democrat votes. Republicans are fearful that he's pulling more Republican votes. And no one really knows. Mm-hmm. In fact, all the polling shows it's like pretty much half and half, right? Like we've seen all of that. So, but the really interesting state where RFK, this entire thing could change, the complexity of the RFK vote could change, is Arizona. So you've got, on the Democrat ballot, you got Ruben Gallego, who left his pregnant wife at 9 months for his lobbyist girlfriend. You have Carrie Lake, who's running for U.S. Senate, and we've endorsed, and it looks like she's the front runner by a lot against Mark Lamb, but we love Mark too, just for all purposes here. It doesn't really matter if it ends up being Carrie or Mark, but Turning Point Action's endorsed Carrie. And then you've got Kyrsten Sinema, who's the incumbent senator that is running right now as an independent. Well, if you have those three stacked up next to Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and RFK, there's probably going to end up happening a marriage between that voters are going to marry their vote between Kyrsten Sinema and RFK, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can see that happening, right?
Definitely in Arizona. Right.
So the question is going to be, does RFK campaign with Kyrsten?
Possible. I mean, he's not getting a bunch of big Democrat donors that are all donating to Ruben Gallego, because Ruben Gallego is raising a bunch of money, so they're not going to marry each other. Sinema's already won a statewide election campaign, and she's going to cater to the party not designated independent voters. We've got a lot of them. And they normally split
the majority of the voters.
Yeah, and so
majority of voters in Arizona are independent. They're not really independent. They're what's called party not determined or designated. Which is P&D, which means that they just didn't choose a party.
And I don't think a lot of them, because in Arizona the law is they can request a party ballot to vote in a primary. I don't think you're going to see a lot of P&D people, Tyler, vote in our primary this year, because Sinema is also on the ballot, plus RFK during the primary. So it'll definitely, a public policy survey that was out with all three of them, Gallego at 48%, Carrie Lake 43%, and a hypothetical head-to-head. But if they are together with Sinema, Gallego gets about 41, Kerry gets 36, and Sinema gets 15. Now, there's no. I mean, this is all the polling. I don't trust any of the polling, especially here in Arizona, because it's been wrong for such a long time. But what really matters is who gets the most ballots in the mailbox.
100%.
That's what it's going to come down to. We know exactly that the low propensity voters in the state can swing it one way or another. And so you've got Mark Kelly, who bested Blake Masters this last time around with hundreds of thousands of votes because there's only 2 of them on the ballot. If Carrie Lake can run up the score with low propensity voters in the state, she's going to win. I think it's easier if RFK and Sinema are married together, campaigning together, and Kerry just gets a bunch of low R votes. I think she beats Gallego.
Well, here's the interesting part. So, no one's going to focus this much on Kyrsten Sinema, and a lot of people, in fact, think that Kyrsten's going to drop out. So, I don't know if RFK looks like he's doing pretty good here. I don't know if she will. Here's the deal. RFK right now in every poll is showing that he is polling a lot of young people. So many young people that Trump is winning the young vote right now between the 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what does that tell you? What does that tell me? Well, I'll tell you what it tells me. It tells me that if RFK is pulling a ton of young voters and Trump is winning the young vote, that means he's not bleeding young Republican voters. Don't you think that, in everything that we've heard, and trust me, running a youth organization at Turning Point USA and at Turning Point Action, we've heard everything up and down about how unpopular Trump was and MAGA was and the wall was.
Wrong.
But here's the deal. Less young people, significantly less young people are abandoning Trump. Significantly more young Democrats are abandoning Biden for an RFK vote in all these polls. That's what every poll is showing. Every poll. And if you talk to friends, you're going to hear that same thing. So I don't know if it's going to happen at the same shtick, but that is a really great indicator for us here in Arizona, what's going to happen in this U.S. Senate race. I believe, based off of the early polling that we're showing, this is why Democrats are freaking out. Because the Democrats bleed 30% of their vote and youth vote to RFK, or 20% of the youth vote to RFK or more. It makes it almost impossible to win the youth vote. And if you don't win the youth vote, you can't chase ballots. Mm-hmm. You can't chase the young ballots that are easy to chase. So now they're hamstrung. Now they can't chase those ballots. So you know what that does to Kyrsten Sinema? Same thing. It may not be to the same extent because Ruben Gallego may not be as detestable as Joe Biden is, right? And so they may not bleed as much. But I highly doubt, as well known as Kerry is, I highly doubt that she's going to bleed more than Trump.
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what's interesting too is so in 2018, Sinema, she dominated the Sun Devil precinct. You may ask, where's the Sun Devil precinct? Well, that's ASU. ASU has a massive political operation when it comes to presidential election years. It was a little bit different in 2018 because Sinema was a professor there and the student activism. But the young voters that are bleeding off of Biden and going to RFK, I imagine you do end up having the same exact thing. Probably not as much off of Gallego to Sinema, but I bet you Sinema does take a good chunk out of the ASU area because she's really not that unpopular with young people around ASU. She's not. She may have pissed off some young liberal progressive activists there, but I really don't think that it's gonna be a resounding victory for Ruben Gallego simply because of ASU.
Austin, here's the Kyrsten Sinema excitement, right? Low info voters. So as Rush called them, low information voters, people that don't know anything about politics. If you line up fat Ruben Gallego and a Republican you just can't vote for, people like Kyrsten. It's the same thing as RFK. Does anyone here know anything about RFK?
No. Other than his political dynasty.
No, but if I go to a young person, I could I know for a fact, I could walk outside here in Arizona. We could go find the youngest person, that first young person that walks out. I could go to In-N-Out Burger that's right behind us right here. I walk in In-N-Out Burger and just go pull someone that's young. Doesn't matter what their race is. Doesn't matter what their gender is even. I go up and I go, hey, Trump or Biden? Or if I give you a third option, would you vote for that person? They would say third option.
Yeah.
Right? Almost always. Anyone that's under the age of 30 for sure. And then I would say, does it matter who that person is? They would probably say no.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
That's what's happening right now. And so, again, everyone just has to use their logic. So everyone that's listening at home, that's watching, that's listening to the podcast later, use logic here. Go talk to your friends and neighbors. If you're at the gym, talk to random people, right? You're probably going to find similar poll numbers to what exists right now for RFK, Trump, and Biden. There's not very many people that are going to admit that they want to vote for Biden.
Yeah.
There's not. There's also, people who like you're going to know. Find somebody that you're like not sure where their political leaning is and say Trump or Biden and just put them on the spot, right? Trump or Biden, just say it just like that. And when they say, and when they're like, and they're stuttering, be like, or I give you third option. And they're like, well, who's the third option? Say, it doesn't matter. And they're probably gonna be like, haha, no. I guarantee you almost every time they're gonna be like, haha, no, I'll probably vote for that person. A low information voter, as Rush Limbaugh used to call them, right? Folks, I'm telling you, you got to take this seriously. Low information voters do not follow politics. They do not care. They do not have any understanding of what's going on. All they know is media, 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 media. And the media has trashed on the left and the right Biden and Trump so much, they're going to be good with anyone. This is going to have a greater impact with young people than it is older people. So if Trump can hang on to the old people, right? Mm-hmm. RFK is going to pull down way more vote than what's expected in the youth vote.
Well, those young people that you give them the option, Trump or Biden, and they say Biden, and you ask why, 9 times out of 10, they can't give you an answer without mentioning Trump in that sentence. They can't say why they support Biden without mentioning Trump first. For those students, and we'll just round it out to students here because that's who I've predominantly worked with over the last 4 years. You ask a student about the third option, whatever the opposite of not woke is. I don't know what that word is. But I think that's what a lot of young people, especially in the Rust Belt states, especially up in Wisconsin where I am, that's what they want, right? COVID accelerated that. They had their college experience ruined by the progressive left. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of young people saying, look, I'm not leaving the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is leaving me. And they're realizing that at 18, 19, 20 years old.
Did you notice, too, we don't have the clip, but earlier this year, Trump went to the Clemson and South Carolina game.
Oh, huge.
And the place erupted. It's all college students that go to those games.
People. And it's young families. And it's young families.
Love Trump, man.
Iowa State.
even when Trump would go to like the Army and Navy games, those are all young cadets. The place would erupt for Trump. I know he's the commander-in-chief, but it's genuine. It's real. And we interact with thousands of young people all the time. Trump, and if you go to a Turning Point Action event and you see our polls, young people overwhelmingly support Donald Trump. And, some of them are not apolitical, but they're conservative. Maybe they're not Republican Party activists, all of them, but they are overwhelmingly backing Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, growing up, who did I have to look up to in the conservative movement? Mitt Romney.
Right.
Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
People who, represented
low
what
caliber.
I thought, but I didn't want to go out and get a beer with Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Donald Trump comes along 2015, 2016, starts speaking my language. He starts talking like my favorite uncle on Thanksgiving. That's somebody I want to go out and knock doors for. That's how he was able to capture the pulse of the college campus.
Well, and that's the other thing too, guys. Like people have realized, and young people have realized, and this was from AtCon, the graphic that we just put up, that Trump won like almost 90% of the vote. I think what it was it 87%? Was that what it said? Mm-hmm. 85%. Yeah. And then the second choice for president was Vivek. And everyone wanted Carrie Lake. It was a lot more competitive for Carrie for vice president. But, look.
And 95.8% no involvement in Ukraine. And Nikki Haley's trying to win the Republican Party primary.
Yeah, this is what's so crazy. Like, all primary voters show up to Turning Point Action Conference last summer, right? And 95% are like, no Ukraine. So that's why, like, you see, her dancing around that. But anyways, back to Arizona. Kyrsten Sinema. This is really unique, right? Because I think you could end up seeing Kyrsten, and I think you could end up seeing, I don't think RFK will perform as well as Kyrsten in Arizona, because I think Kyrsten has a base here and people like her and whatever. I think Kyrsten will probably tap out at about 25% in the vote. I think RFK's ceiling probably here is probably 20%, but that's really high. Yeah. And what that means then is like you basically just have to get like high 30s in order to win that race. You probably, because once you factor in for president, mm-hmm. you got Jill Stein, you've got all sorts of other crazy people on board. That's gonna change the complexity of all of this. And so, you've got a real problem on your hands if you're the Democrat Party in Arizona, if you want to fund this place. And that's what we're seeing, right? Austin is on the ground here every single day working with our team. Brett now is on the ground every day working with our team. Shout out to our Arizona team who is working on coalition building here today out of the office. But you as Democrats have to look at this thing and go, holy crap, like this is so messed up here. Maybe we should move all of our funding to Georgia. Maybe we should move all of our funding to a different state. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame them if they want to do that, because we're hiring hundreds and hundreds of people.
And the Green Party's going to have ballot access in Arizona this year. The
Yeah,
no labels
Jill
is going.
Stein.
No labels.
No labels.
Yeah. It's going to be tough.
So we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people on the ground here. It's going to be very, very difficult to win Arizona this time around.
We're going all in every day.
They took advantage of a lot of the moderates who just kind of sat back and just bought TV, and not even all of the TV that we could have bought. So those days are over, my friends. Arizona's in play, and we're gonna work really, really hard to make sure that we win. Okay, let's wrap up. We wanted to talk Wisconsin. So Brett, since you're here with us and you are the Wisconsin guru, tell everybody the announcement that we got this week. So
super exciting news, everyone. And where's the camera? I want to look directly at the
straight at it.
Straight at it.
All right. The American grassroots activists. Hey, grassroots warriors. Guess what? Turning Point Action has opened its very first satellite office location. We are going to be in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Picked up the keys to the office this week. National pundits don't even have Waukesha County on their radar. That's the crazy part to all of this. We've identified Waukesha County as a top 5 county to saving our nation. This is no longer a war of persuasion, grassroots warriors. This is now a war of making sure that every single conservative and their mother gets out to vote. We are targeting those low-prop voters. And where are they? Waukesha County, Ozaukee County, Washington County, Milwaukee County, Dane County. These are the places where the juice is most worth the squeeze, and our office is right in the center of it.
Yeah, we're really excited for this because this will be I think the largest office that any organization in the conservative movement has opened up maybe ever.
It's huge.
It's huge in Wisconsin, which is crazy because Wisconsin's been in place since at least 2016, if not all throughout the Scott Walker years.
Yep.
So it's like over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking back here and look, I'm going to call some people out because that's what we do here. All right. We had a former national party chair from Wisconsin. He was the state party chair of Wisconsin. No investment to Wisconsin, right? We have now a RNC chair who's from Michigan. No investment into Michigan. Like, this is crazy stuff. Like, if you're at home, I hope you're listening. Anyone that's listening to this right now, the Republican National Committee has basically neglected the places that our leadership even came from. This is so insane.
That's so sad.
And so it's been my dream. It's been Austin's dream as Arizonans. Obviously, it's been Brett's dream to open up a massive office. We're going to be training hundreds of ballot chasers. Really, probably we'll end up training over 2,000 people through this office before Election Day is said and done on identifying and chasing ballots and making it very difficult for Democrats to win, namely in places where ballots are being left behind, which is Waukesha, which is Washington County. I mean, Washington County.
So many Republican votes being left on the table.
This reminds me because the ceiling hasn't been hit in Wisconsin.
Not even close.
This is why they're trying to bring ranked choice voting. Because they know that these ballots are left there. And they're like, they're not going to be able to. And once we have ranked choice voting, those ballots will be irrelevant. That's my theory. Those ballots will be irrelevant once they have ranked choice voting. And so we're going to go get all those ballots. And they're not going to win.
Well, and here's the deal. Every town has a pub, right? Every town has their own little
Packers
Every
bar.
town has many pubs.
And many pubs. Well, at least they have one that I've seen in every single one of these little towns.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I've traveled all throughout the state of Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
I can't remember who I was with. Was I with you? I was with some. Yeah. When we were driving.
Yeah.
Remember we were driving back with Lauren and Amy, and we were coming back
after the Packers game.
After the Packers game, because we have a minority owner here at the Packers here. So we were driving back, and we were like, how does this place vote for Democrats ever? It's mind blowing, because you drive through the place, and it's like every person you meet like, it has to be Republican. Every person, it's like, where are they pulling these like teachers union weirdos? I know a lot in Dane County.
Right.
I know there's been a lot of in inner city, but like most of the state is like deep red.
Mm-hmm.
Like tattoo Trump's face on your back red, right?
Yep.
It's weird.
Well, and we've looked at the numbers. We've done deep dives into it. Counties that we're used to racking the score up in, yeah, we're still winning them, but they're by 2 or 3 points less than we usually do. I put it in perspective this way. Republican candidates used to win Ozaukee County by 30 points. Republican candidates are winning it by 5 points now. There are so many Republican votes that are being left on the table. This isn't a big deal when it's 1 or 2 counties, but when it's 10 or 12 counties that we're going to be activating a huge number, literally hundreds of ballot chasers into, these are those extra 2 or 3 points we're looking to make up.
Well, and this is the exciting part. We'll throw up this graphic. So this is where the work that's being done. We're opening up this office because we have dozens of jobs being posted right now. The first tier of jobs that are being posted are in Arizona. So Austin Smith, who's here, that is what his job is. He is
I'm interviewing
building
people
the team
right now. Apply right now. TPAction.com/careers. If you live in those cities or in adjacent right next to them, apply. We're building them out here in Arizona. I've been doing interviews for the last couple of weeks now. I've got some more this week. We're building the team right now.
TPAction.com/careers. That's Mesa, Gilbert, Queen Creek, North Phoenix, Surprise, Peoria, Goodyear, Buckeye, Glendale, Anthem. Those are the places that we're looking for managers. We're going to be hiring dozens more full-time representatives for the Chase the Vote program. And then the exciting part is the next round of hires, we're going to be posting a similar graphic to this that's going to be public next week for Wisconsin.
We're coming for you, Wisconsin.
It's very exciting.
So Wisconsin, we're going to have jobs posted all over, Waukesha, Pewaukee. We're going to have North Shore. We're going to have all over the place around Wisconsin. You're going to be seeing those go live. So if you're not... Oh, are those up already? Oh, they're up.
Yeah, ballot chase manager.
Oh, okay. We can throw up this graphic soon. So we got in Port
Racine,
Washington,
Mequon.
Mequon. Yeah, I mean, we've got all these and these are manager jobs. So these are leadership roles that are going to be helping manage teams of 10 or more people.
If you have a year of experience or just some experience in grassroots organizing, I'd encourage you to apply. If this is something that you want to do and spend the entire year helping get these ballots in the mailbox, and you've got a year of grassroots organizing experience with a conservative organization, with the party, with starting maybe your own organization, or maybe you were like the best, door knocker or voter registration person in the area in Wisconsin or Arizona, apply. Get out right now. This is the time these are paid positions. This is what the left does. They pay people to do things like this. We're going to do it as well, but we're just going to do it better.
Well, I mean, look, I am excited for this. I know we're about at time. Thank you to all those who joined us on Twitter. Thank you to Jack Posobiec, who retweeted
awesome.
our feed here. If you can find
Jack.
us at Swing State Update anywhere you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Rumble, right here on Twitter where we're going live. We're going to be starting going live on Instagram as well. So everyone can stay in the know with what's happening in the swing states, particularly Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, but also Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan. You can go to swingstateupdate.com to follow us more. Again, subscribe. If you go on Apple Podcasts, on Google, you can download, subscribe. We ask that if you can subscribe, set up automatic downloads and give us a listen. We're live now every Monday, where we post this now every Monday, and then we're live every Friday where we're going there. We're going to be starting to post, right, Producer Sadie, a lot more content midweek as well, including some of our pre-recorded training sessions, info sessions, because we're going to use these opportunities to kind of just talk about what's going on, so kind of what to think, what to check out, hear from our team on the ground that Brett's overseeing, the Chase the Vote operation that's happening, and how we need your help in these key critical states. Because if we get a few thousand of you patriots out to these states, It's game over for the Democrats.
We're going to have now that session has started, we're going to have a lot more Arizona information regarding elections and just all of the money and the Democrat moves in the state. So you got to be here every single week for the live stream at, in the evening time, Arizona, like 5 o'clock Arizona time. You've got to be here for the live stream because there's going to be a lot of information crucial these next few months going into the summertime, into the primary season.
Yeah, one final thing I'll say. Wisconsin is a beautiful place to go to in the fall. So I know it's the beginning of the year. You're starting to look at paid time off. When do I want to take my vacations? I can't tell you guys a better time to take time off and help the future of this country than September, October, early November, coming out to Wisconsin and helping us ballot chase.
Can't wait.
Well, and that's going to be the name of the game, right? Is chase, learn what, know what's going on, know the data that's on the ground. You're never going to get that from anywhere else but here. Please follow us, subscribe to Swing State Update. You're going to be seeing a lot more, between Charlie's show and everything else. We just appreciate everyone's support for our team that's happening right now. And we're looking forward to the weeks and months ahead. So God bless you guys. Brett, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tyler and Austin, for having me. It's great to be here.
Austin, good luck with legislative session.
Pray for us.
We will see you all this Friday.